freedom reigns and truth prevails. Our land where there's hope for us all.
When politics unfolds, when decisions are made, we reveal the impact. Welcome to the Polity, your deep dive into the forces shaping governance, policies, and power. From the halls of government.
You were there. I was not there. Check the record. Wait now. You were there. I was not there.
To the voices of the people.
We are suffering. This suffering is too much. It's too much. Look at the students. There's no job. They finish school. There's no job for them.
We analyze the undercurrents, expose the intrigues, and break down the narratives that define our democracy. Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki delivering razor-sharp analysis, and Ebuka Franklin and Chisom on the question wheel, driving the conversation. We bring you the most compelling discussions on governance, policies, and power plays. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay ahead. The Polity, every weekdays at 9:15 a.m. Exclusive on Udala 104.7 FM Onitsha.
Okay, and of course, the Politics exclusive on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. This is the way I'm welcoming you to today's edition of the Polity, Tuesday edition, this November 25th, 2025. You know that what we do on the Polity is that we'll bring you headlines of various newspapers and then take conversation on the topical ones across board. My name is Franklin Ebuka, and as usual, today promises to be exciting because we are poised to bring you Nigeria before you are dusted with words and their constructive analysis. Today, I'm going to be doing it with Dr. Olisa Mbeki, but before we get to that, of course, let's just give you a rundown of some of the things you might expect in today's conversation or in today's headlines. And we have to start from the southeast and primarily from Anambra State because we have it on good authority that the governor of Anambra State, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, he is going to present 2026 budget before the State House of Assembly for consideration. So by 10 a.m. this morning, he's going to be at the Hallowed Chamber of the Anambra State House of Assembly to present the 2026 appropriation bill. For now, we do not know what the figure is going to be and what the title is going to be. But of course, we know we have seen changing gears and the like, so we do not know what it's going to be. But the ones it's unveiled, we are going to let you know. Then if you go to Ebonyi State, if you check the papers, you will see that yesterday that the Ebonyi State governor presented, or not presented this time around, he unveiled the 2026 budget of 884 billion naira for public input. What he did was that after the galvanization, he now brought it before the people for them to make input and suggest what could be added or what could be subtracted before it gets to the State House of Assembly. And guess what? There is about 150 billion naira mapped out for the development of a new cement factory in that very state. They are saying that they cannot continue to wait for all the legal tussles around Niger Sand to be dealt with. But this time around, they have to begin new one and see if they can tap the natural resources available in that very state to improve the state's IGR. If you leave Ebonyi State and you go to Imo State, you will see that the governor of Imo State has been speaking so highly of the much anticipated the investment summit which is going to hold in that very state. In fact, from what the governor has been saying, and talking about Governor Hupuzodema, he says that the state is expecting to gain about $1 trillion from that very forthcoming economic summit. I think that should be in December this year. If we are going to go back to Ebonyi State, just like we saw in Anambra, that was on Sunday when the police commissioner announced that they were trying to be for security around schools and churches because of the incidents we had in Niger State, Kwara, and some other places. Ebonyi is also doing the same thing, and some other states too across Nigeria, they're also doing the same thing, trying to be for security around schools and churches to avoid had I known. Then we quickly go to Delta State, where there was panic yesterday in Delta State because some persons raised the false alarm that some armed men were about invading a certain school in Kwale, talking about Gear Secondary School Otabwe in Kwale. And as usual, everybody began to run helter-skelter. Parents were running to school to take their children and what have you not. But guess what? When police deployed to the place, they found out that it was a rumor that got the better part of the people. And that reminded me of what happened in Ozobo some time ago, when people alleged that that the army were going to schools to inject monkeypox in students. I can't forget that very incident because we were so much involved in that, trying to douse the tension. Then it was Kate Omenoga, who was the commissioner for education, and we tried to manage that very rumor at that point in time. So lots of things you can see from the region, and if we are going to leave this very region and move to the national level, or if we are going to cross over to some other places, you will see that there are other things that are getting attention. Of course, there is a development on the outcome of the federal government delegation to the US on the redesignation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern. We know that the likes of Nuhu Ribadu, they were in US for engagement, and federal government is now saying that US has agreed on some things. What did they agree on? We are going to tell you by the time we begin our analysis. Then if you go to the southwest, you will see that the governors from that very region, they seem to be forming a common front in approaching the new wave of insecurity in the country. Yes, they had a meeting in Ibadan, and they made some resolutions which we are going to tell you by the time we look at the headlines. Then Atiku Abubakar is in the news because he has officially registered as a member of the ADC, but that his decision to put his mouth or put his money where his mouth is. It didn't go down well with the likes of Adams Oshomole, who had been his critics, because Oshomole is saying that whether he joined the ADC or not, it is insignificant because he has been a serial defector. If you leave that very story, you see that Ike Kweremadi is in the mix, and we have also seen some reactions trading Nnamdi Kanu's life imprisonment. So these are more things you are going to see on the headline this very morning by the time we begin to unveil. I said I'm not alone because I have Dr. Olisa Mbeki. Good morning.
Good morning, Franklin, Ebuka. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, Indianambra. Good morning, Onitsha. Good morning, Ndosimohu. Wherever you are listening to us from, it's always a pleasure. And then it is also important for you to know that we are back in the sanctuary to profess the truth. So we are professors of truths and nothing but the truths. And we are back to look at so many developments across the country, as Franklin has listed some of these developments, from economy to budget presentation to agreement between Nigeria and US, if there is any, and also the turn down of the request to extradite Ekweremadu, and so many things going on. But there are so many of them, but we can take as much as we can, and I'm happy to be here to really do justice to some of these developments. And I cannot stop but thanking God Almighty for His mercy, for the gift of life and the gift of good health, for us to be here. As much as we will always pray and wish, all glory and honor be ascribed unto His name. You're welcome.
Okay, so if I add amen to that, of course, I'm not going to be wrong. Okay, so let's look at the headlines we have on the various newspapers. We have 4 of them: The Nation, Vanguard, Guardian, and the Punch newspaper. Don't forget that we are live on our Facebook page, Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Get to that very page. You are going to watch the video of these very proceedings, and at the same time, you have the opportunity to drop your comment on that very page. Don't forget to share the post. If you want to watch on YouTube or on Instagram, we are Udala Radio. Get on the platforms and get involved. So let's begin with the headlines we have on the Nation newspaper. We have the banner headline. It says, Southwest rises against bandit. The story is on page 4. Is the big story on that very page. It has a rider. It says, Governors plan forest surveillance to halt terrorist incursion. It's time for state police. Yesterday, Tony emphasized that it's time to quicken things when it comes to state policing. Another headline above the nameplate says, Badaru, government boosting intelligence to tackle threats. The story is on page 2. How Tinubu coordinated rescue of Eruku 38. The story is on page 3. Tony, I don't know if you went through this very story, because when I look at the headline, I said this is enticing. Let me get to it and see what actually the president did in terms of coordination. And guess what? It was a bad PR. Trying to put the president like he was on top of the situation to manage things. It was an empty write-up, I must say. Then another headline says, Oyinlola backs Adeleke to run on Accord platform. The story is on page 27. Of course, Adeleke seems to be like also now, Obolano, he's neither in PDP nor in APC, and his political future is in limbo. He's not in the country right now. So Oyinlola is saying that by the time he comes back, he's going to decide whether he's going to run on the platform of Accord Party or any other party. And if he chooses to run on Accord Party, he might join him then. But if he chooses another party that doesn't align with his philosophy, he might leave him behind. Then we have another headline that says a contempt charge against AMCON officials for hearing tomorrow. The story is on pages 25, 26, and 29, or rather 28 and 29. Then you can see an editorial on the front page of the Nation newspaper. It's coming from Wolo Lanipekun. Okay, he's talking about Nekond Energy Limited in a rejoinder to cover page newspaper advertorials and what have you not. So that has taken major part of the Nation newspaper. So we have to go to the next paper to look at the headlines, and that is Vanguard newspaper. The banner headline says KB Niger schools abduction, US to share intel demands action. The story is on page 5. He has riders to speed up arms request. Presidency 239 nursery primary pupils amongst 265 victims still missing in Niger Catholic Diocese. The one saying so. Kwara church attack was a sudden, terrifying act. Survivor narrates ordeal. A school abduction threatened northern Nigeria's children's future. Amnesty warns. Then another story, which is a picture story here, says that 2025 Zenith Bank Christmas light up. Then above the nameplate, CBN to slam 5-year ban on bank customers overdue check. The story is on page 19. Then UK rejects FG's request for Ekweremadu to complete prison term in Nigeria. The story is on page 8, and they say Nigeria is not trustworthy. That's why they are not going to concede to that. Atiku officially joins ADC, vows end to APC's misrule. The story is on page 8. If you listened to Shomole yesterday, you know that he's not seen Atiku as a threat because he believed that Atiku is a fair weather politician, that he can't do anything. Then another story says insecurity is time for state police, Southwest governors. The story is on page 10. We talked about it, the meeting they had yesterday in Ibadan, where they made some resolutions, and the chairman of the forum, the governor of Lagos State, Sanwo-Olu, he took time to read out the resolutions in their communique. Withdrawal of escort, fear grips VIPs as police plan modalities. Check page 34 of Vanguard newspaper. Then you can see Mr. and Mrs. If you like that Mr. and Mrs., you can read it up and see what he's talking about today. I do like that very satire that they told. Then over to Guardian newspaper. You see the banner headline. It's on page 6. It says military decries complexity of threats as Southwest governors call for state police. You can also see the editorial, or rather the advertorial, coming from Wololani Beku and Co. Students loan. Adewumi Kehinde champion nail phone sensitization. The story is on page 5. I must tell you that I don't know whether it's the level of awareness on this very nail phone, whether it's too poor in the southeast, or is there a normal nonchalant attitude to anything in Nigeria, where students from other regions have been benefiting from this very nail phone, but our people, students from this very area, they barely benefit. Just a fraction of persons do benefit, and I'm just wondering why people in this very area are not taking advantage of this for them to school, for those who are having challenges with school fees and what have you not. Then another headline says that Nigeria US deepen security ties as Washington offers support for Middle Belt. The story is on page 3. UK reject Nigeria's request to deport Ekweremadu. Check page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. And that headline says Southeast calm as sit at home records partial compliance. The story is on page 3. Was not yesterday I was reading a report on Vanguard newspaper where people on Onitsha, or people who were interviewed who live in Onitsha, they said whether Kano has been in prison or not, whether peace has come or not, that for them they have chosen to make Monday their sit at home and they are comfortable with it. But if you go to Oka, I must tell you that the reverse is the case, because these days in Oka, as early as 7:30, everywhere is already busy. And they keep on saying it's the same Anambra State, but
I think it's only in Onitsha. Apart from Oka, in some other places, there's always a behalf of activity. So it's understandable that we are talking about Onitsha here, Onitsha Metropolis.
Okay, so look at the last newspaper we have this very morning, and it's on Punch newspaper. The big story here says kidnapping crisis, governors convene emergency session, school lockdowns rise. The story is on pages 2 and 10. It has a rider 19 northern governors to meet. Southwest plans for surveillance. Unions fourth lockdown. Tinubu rejects mercenaries. Another headline says UK reject Nigeria's request to repatriate Ebuka. Check page 19 of the Punch newspaper. Osun 2026. Adeleke is set to announce re-election platform. The story is on page 19. Beside the nameplate, 2027 presidency, Atiku's ADC registration sparks storm. Check page 2. Another headline says inflation, MPC may cut interest rate again today. The story is on page 25. They have a meeting today. Police tighten security in Lagos schools, worship centers. The story is on page 5. Constitutional review moves to 36 state assemblies. Check page 22. And above the nameplate, Wike Turaki's camps differ on PDP secretariat reopening. The story is on page 19. A strike ASU NEC to review FG's final terms Wednesday. Check page 7. And this one says NSA launches 2025-2030 counter-terrorism plan. The story is on page 18. And these are the headlines we have this very morning on the front pages of these newspapers we have brought before you. And next is going to be for us to do the analysis on some of the most topical development. And we ask you to stay with us. We'll be right back.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
When the city sleeps, the river remembers. When the drums call, Onitsha awakens. This December, the call grows louder as Udala Radio joins forces with the Golibe Festival 2025. From December 26th to New Year's Day, the heartbeat of the East comes alive. Music, laughter, art, culture, and the unstoppable joy of homecoming. This year promises more energy, more color, more connection. A festival for every proud son and daughter of Igbo land. Stay tuned to Udala Radio, your front row seat to the celebration that never fades. Golibe Festival 2025. Exclusive media support by Udala Radio. It's not just a festival, it's who we are.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, thank you for staying tuned to the radio 104.7 FM. It's now 9:34 a.m. and you are listening to The Polity. My name is Franklin and Ebuka. We have to look at the developments as we have read at this very morning. Don't forget that Olisa Mbeki is on the analysis desk and he's going to offer insight into these very topical developments we have. Go to our Facebook page, Udala Radio 104.7 FM. We are live on our Facebook page. Get interactive on that platform. On Instagram and the YouTube is Udala Radio. So, Tony, yesterday we read about the rejection of the request which was made by the federal government to the UK government to transfer former Senate President Ebuka Franklin to Nigerian prison, where he is expected to finish the term of his imprisonment other than staying in UK. And from what we have this very morning on the papers, that the UK said, no, we are not going to do that because we do not trust your judgment that if he gets back to Nigeria, that he's going to finish the jail term. So how do we look at this, whereby such a request was turned down outrightly? Was it because of the fact that Nigeria has a question of integrity, or UK is playing to the law of the land as it's supposed to be?
We looked at that very development with keen interest, there's no doubt, and then had expected the no answer from the UK. Obviously, I had never expected the yes answer from UK, and it turned out to be the no I had expected. And if you asked other questions, one would also understand why UK said no. And we must understand the issue of extradition treaty. I'm aware that Nigeria and UK, yes, one would say yes, it seems that we have such treaty, but there are some caveats. There are obviously some caveats, and those caveats probably have affected the request. In history, Ebuka Franklin is the only serving politician or public office holder who was arrested for crimes committed in United Kingdom. We have not seen that in other climes. What we've seen over the time had always been citizens of this country committing crime in one country or the other, or running to one such country. Maybe they might have committed crime in Nigeria, run to United Kingdom, where Nigeria will seek their extradition so that they can be tried in Nigeria and face, the charges they may be preferred upon. That's what we've been seeing all this while. In fact, in the case of United States, it has always been so. I made a search to discover if there had been any serving politician in the United States that was arrested in United Kingdom for a crime committed in United Kingdom, where US possibly sought for extradition so that he can continue or complete his sentencing in United States. I saw none. So it is maybe a new curve in our diplomatic relationship between the UK. I know that Nigeria and the UK do have a legal framework for extradition, mainly through the Commonwealth London scheme. But it's not simple. But it's a broad bilateral extradition treaty like you might see between some other countries. But there are issues that must be considered: human rights consideration and evidence requirements that can make extradition difficult in practice. So in all of this, we can understand for sure that it's going to be very difficult. Okay, you talk about sentenced person transfer, because that's what Nigeria is actually seeking for. They are not seeking for extradition of Ebuka Franklin. What they are seeking for is his transfer. He has been sentenced. There was a 2014 agreement between the UK and Nigeria on the transfer of sentenced persons. Yes, there was 2014 agreement. However, that particular agreement is not currently in force according to the UK government's published documents. We had an agreement, but it's not in force. So can Nigeria activate that 2014 agreement between UK and Nigeria on the transfer of sentenced person? Can it be activated? Because there was an agreement in place. And remember, even our courts have a role to play in some of these things, because they must ensure that all the right things are done, and also the National Assembly. So UK turning down such requests, probably it could also be down to issue of trust. Yes, we have had a bad encounter with the US. I remember when during the Second Republic, when head of state Muhammad Buhari assumed office through coup d'etat, Omar Diko, remember, was kind of poisoned, incapacitated, immobilized, and we saw how UK stopped that. That was in the Second Republic though. But this time around, just like I told you, there was an agreement in 2014 about transfer of sentenced person. he has never been enforced, and we have not known why he has never been enforced. But can the country activate it at this point? So, on what ground, on what legal framework would they transfer Ekpere Madu to Nigeria?
Now, but somebody might want to ask why the interest of Nigeria on Ekpere Madu, asking that he should be transferred to Nigeria to serve the remainder of the sentence. We know that he was sentenced to, I think, 9 years imprisonment because of their involvement in moving a young man from Nigeria to the UK, because they wanted the guy to donate kidney for the ailing son Sonia. So on what ground could Nigeria have made that very request? Was it because he's a person of interest, or is trying to protect its own?
The ground could be because he, at the point of his arrest and conviction, he was a serving public office holder. And remember, not just an ordinary citizen. So on the ground that he's a high-profile person in Nigeria, and he has shown good conduct in the development of this country. And if you look at the case in question, it was purely an oversight. Oversight in the sense that they never took into cognizance the modern day slavery act of United Kingdom. They did not take into consideration the provisions of that act before what happened. And the issue, remember, has to do with lies, where you made the UK officials to believe that the boy in question, or the man in question whose organ is to be harvested, is related to Ekpere Madu's daughter. That's basically the whole thing. Apart from the fact that the young boy falsified his age, trying to bring his age low so that it will be a child abuse, but which the Nigerian immigration has shown that there was nothing of such nature. But the only argument which they anchored their conviction, because he was convicted by the jury. He was not a court, in a judge of a court that convicted Ekpere Madu. Jury. These are ordinary people, lay people, picked from the streets. And they were properly guided by the court. And they were made to understand the provisions of the law, to look into what transpired between Ekpere Madu and the young man. And the jury convicted him. So the point remains that there was an oversight. He never knew that there is such an act. He has been going to, remember, before his conviction, he was a visiting professor in one of the universities in UK. So that tells you that he has been teaching over there. And he has shown good conduct. He has shown good character. He is not known for such. It was not intentional, in the sense that they had thought that because a cry of a father to save a daughter. We understand, and the young man in question before departing Nigeria agreed to certain times. But it was discovered that it was purely based on financial inducement, not on voluntary or willing donation. These things have been happening in Nigeria without any cause. So on that ground, if you look at the nature of the case, you could understand that it was an oversight on the part of Ekpere Madu, and the need for him to be part of it. He has served some years in prison. The Nigerian government is intentional that if he had served some years, he has put up good conduct in Nigeria as far as national development is concerned. But at the same time, bring him here so he can complete his term. But they have turned it down. And just like I told you earlier on, that that cannot be done without a legal framework. There must be an existing legal framework, and that legal framework could be a form of agreement between the two countries on how this is done. And I told you earlier on, there is 2014 agreement, which has been ineffective since it was agreed upon till this date. So Nigerian government will go back and see if they can do other things, but the generality of the Nigerians, many of them applauded the conviction of Ekpere Madu, saying for most times you have abandoned the politicians generally, abandoned real development. They have been chasing shadow, they have enriched themselves, they have become what they are. Ordinarily, what could Ekpere Madu, just from a local government chairman in 1999, he has become a very big rich man. What made him so rich? Politics. So the Nigerians have their reservations on the conduct of politicians, but aside that,
and now you're talking about Nigerian, because many Nigerians are not finding it funny that Nigerian government was expressing interest in bringing Ekweremadu back to Nigeria to finish the term for the imprisonment. They were asking for on what ground. If he wasn't a high-profile person, if he was a common man, would you also make such a request? Is there any ulterior motive behind that very request, which was made by the government of Nigeria? Now, for the Ekweremadu family, of course, by the time they must have sat down to review what actually played out, it could be an incident that they might, say, this is the biggest of our regret, because it put the family in a very bad light. Not only that they got conviction, but the renal transplant that they wanted to do, it didn't happen. Sonia is still in UK. The father got imprisoned. The mother got imprisoned, though she has finished her term. And then the lawyer who helped them to do that, not lawyer, the medical doctor who helped them to do this, talking about one or better, he also got 10 years imprisonment. So he's still serving his term. It's almost like it left a sour taste in the mouth.
Remember, the wife has been released.
Yes.
And I must tell you, the wife is the one pushing for this. Ekweremadu is in direct communication with the wife. And through the wife, Ekweremadu must have spoken to so many people, so many top politicians. And through the wife, Ekweremadu may have spoken to Mr. President. I'm just speculating. Ekweremadu must have spoken to some people he would have loved to speak to, because definitely the wife will have access to these people on his request. So the wife has been the one pushing for this, and probably Ekweremadu must have spoken with Mr. President, President Bola Tinubu, through the wife, and Mr. President bought in the idea of this sentencing transfer, as I said earlier on. But just as we said earlier on, anything can happen. Remember, he was sentenced in May 2003 to 9 years and 8 months in prison. And his wife, Beatrice, got 4 years and 6 months. And no been no better. The doctor, alleged to have helped, was sentenced to 10 years, as you rightly pointed out. So, just like I said earlier on, the court said the kidney was intended for Ekweremadu's daughter Sonia, which we have most times and then arguably extensively looked into. So it was a high profile case because it involved organ trafficking and was prosecuted under the UK Modern Slavery Act, no doubt. And remember, the judge in sentencing, because the jury found Ekweremadu guilty, the judge did the sentencing, and the judge in sentencing described the crime as a despicable trade and equated the exploitation to a kind of slavery. So the victim, that Obin, the young boy, was promised 7,000 UK pounds and a job in the UK. No, that is the financial inducement I was talking about. When you promise the young boy that he was going to get 7,000 pounds and a job in UK, if you calculate that amount in our currency now, you understand what that means. So apart from the issue of document falsifications and the donor as a cousin to facilitate admission to UK, which I've said it was purely an oversight. I think that was where the jury looked into, for you to claim that this donor was a cousin to your daughter Sonia, which wasn't the case, wasn't true, and which also portrayed the intention and the promise of 7,000 UK pounds and a job in UK as well. With this involved, that was why the judge described the case as so despicable and an act of slavery. So that is just the case. Just like I told you, the wife has been trying to see if this could come, but the UK Ministry of Justice declined the request. And in fact, according to a source at the Ministry of Justice, the UK is not convinced that Nigeria can guarantee that the Ekweremadu will serve out the full remainder of his sentence. And they said any prisoner transfer is at our discretion, following a careful assessment in the interest of justice. And I told you earlier on, the agreement we have in 2014 is not in force. And what next for Nigeria? Diplomatic pressure and negotiation, because Nigeria's delegation will likely continue pressing the UK for a prisoner transfer agreement or a reconsideration. They will not back down the request. They will not go down. They will keep on the diplomatic pressure, and there may be more diplomatic engagement. But given the UK stated concern, it is not guaranteed that they will reverse their decision. But they will keep the pressure on.
Okay, so let's go over to the issue of insecurity, because if you look at the headlines we have this very morning, if you look at the Vanguard newspaper, you see a headline that says KB, Niger schools abduction, US to share intel demands action. Then you cross over to the Nation newspaper, you see the headline. It reads this very way. It says, Nigeria, US agree on new cooperation framework. So if you go into this very story, you see that the presidency is saying that Nigeria and the US have agreed to establish a joint group, or rather a joint working group, to enhance counter-terrorism operations and deepen security cooperation between both countries. Like I said before, that there was a time that a delegation led by the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu traveled to the US to engage with the US government, basically the Congress, the State Department, the National Security Council, and Department of War. Likewise, the White House Face Office, they all engage with these very different groups, trying to tell Nigerian story after Trump had declared Nigeria a country of particular concern because of the alleged Christian genocide. So after the engagement, from what we have heard from the presidency, talking about Bayo Onanuga in this very case, he said that the U.S. affirmed its readiness to deepen security cooperation with Nigeria. According to Onanuga, the U.S.-Nigeria security cooperation will include enhanced intelligence support, expedited processing of defense equipment requests, and the potential provision of excess defense articles, subject to availability, to reinforce ongoing operations against terrorists and violent extremist groups. He noted that the U.S. also expressed its willingness to extend complementary support, including humanitarian assistance to affected populations in the Middle Belt and technical support to strengthen early warning mechanisms. How do you react to this? That after the U.S. made that very statement, or rather after U.S. President Donald Trump made that very statement, which many Nigerians have been banking on, saying, Trump, when are you coming? We need you seriously. And Onanuga is now issuing such a statement that U.S. is treating towards cooperation other than invasion, as Trump suggested.
In fact, we must look at this issue from two angles. Yes, Onanuga, the presidential spokesperson, has briefed everyone about this agreement, what it's all about. Deepening security cooperation, defense equipment support, humanitarian and early warning support, joint working group and framework. According to Onanuga, where both countries will immediately implement a non-binding cooperation framework. They will set up a joint working group. What is this group? Is this group going to be a joint task force where U.S. Army and Nigerian Army will be part of the task force on counter-terrorism? Because if you use the word group, joint working group, that joint working group, in what sense? I think he didn't make more explanation to the joint working group.
Because we need to know whether they're going to have soldiers here in the country.
That is it, joint working group. What would the group do? Would the group be on the field, be in the air, be everywhere to see that there is this fight is sustained? But we would assume that the group, joint working group, could also mean that they will be here in Nigeria. Because that word is more diplomatic. It is not expressive as we had thought. They called it joint working group, which will be aimed at coordinating their counter-terrorism and security efforts. I don't know if the group will be more, the US delegation will be more of giving technical assistance. Nigerian own will be being on the field. He did not explain. But there will be civilian protection, according to Onanuga, that in return of US support, Nigeria reiterated its own commitment to strengthening measures that protect civilians.
Now, Tony, guess what? If you look at that statement that Onanuga issued, that's one word that was used somewhere, which I'm going to reference now, so that we'll be able to put it into perspective. He said that they agreed to activate a non-binding cooperation framework.
That means that framework is not binding on any party. So any party may disagree or opt out for any reason. It's not gonna, so for me, it is a weak one. For a framework to be non-binding, it's going to be weak, and it's going to be weak. So, but then I'm trying to find out the US position, what it seems to be based on public reporting, because that's what Nigerian position is. What about US position? Because that's why we are here, to ensure we verify any news piece and ensure that what is disseminated to the general public is as it is and it's going to be accurate, without being a detail like BBC did their own in case of Trump. But on the US angle, from the US angle, according to because Nigerian side has been the ones playing all this, but I try as much as possible to surf through all the US websites. Even there are so many of them, I could not find any concrete statement coming out from the US.
Yeah, because as it stands now you are going this very well. Because it stands now, we haven't gotten any categorical statement from the US on where they stand on this. The last thing we had was when they had their session, and after the session we had different lawmakers and different individuals speaking on what they think should be a way forward in this very case. Later we heard that there was a voting in the Congress where it was in favor of Trump for him to go ahead and do what he plans to do. But from what is coming for the presidency, one might want to think whether there is an element of trying to control the narrative in this whole thing, trying to move first before the US now gives their own stance on whatever they were agreed upon during this very meeting with delegation in the US.
Just like you said, I did make a search. I went straight to state.gov, which is more like an overview page on US security cooperation with Nigeria. I did not find anything. I also went to Defense Security Cooperation Agency, DSCA, for arms and defense equipment sales notification to Nigeria. I did not find anything. And also went to US Department of Justice, DOJ, for formal agreements and corresponding documents relating to Nigeria. I could not find anything. In fact, I was actually looking for one example on counter-terrorism capacity building. I did not find anything. So US seems not to have spoken or made public of whatever the agreement they have with Nigeria is. It has always been Nigerian government speaking. We have not heard from US, and I did a thorough search to some of these websites I mentioned, but I could not find anything.
So if this is the case, what does this spell for Nigerians who have been hoping that Trump is going to do some magical, come in and be able to rein on the terrorism and banditry playing out in Nigeria? Hold on, we're going to go for a commercial break now. Okay.
You're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
When the city sleeps, the river remembers. When the drums call, Onitsha awakens. This December, the call grows louder as Udala Radio joins forces with the Golibe Festival 2025. From December 26th to New Year's Day, the heartbeat of the East comes alive. Music, laughter, art, culture, and the unstoppable joy of homecoming. This year promises more energy, more color, more connection. A festival for every proud son and daughter of Igbo land. Stay tuned to Udala Radio, your front row seat to the celebration that never fades. Golibe Festival 2025. Exclusive media support by Udala Radio. It's not just a festival, it's who we are.
From the commercial city of Onitsha comes Udala Radio 104.7 FM, the voice of the region. Where authentic news and entertainment meet. Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
And of course, you are listening to The Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. It's now 10 a.m. My name is Franklin and I'm with Tony Olisa Mbeki. We are looking at the topical developments in the newspaper this very morning. We were talking about that very reported agreement between Nigeria and the USA as put out by the presidential media aide, talking about Bayo Onanuga, where he said the two countries agreed to cooperate to share intelligence and ensure that they get to root out banditry and terrorism. And my question before that very break was, if what Onanuga reported is the true situation now, so what does that say about, or what does that bode for Nigerians who have been hoping that Trump might do some magic, be able to come into the country and help us to tame the insecurity that we have ravaging the country at this point in time?
Big disappointment, there's no doubt. There will be some kind of let low on so many of them who are told that Trump will come with his soldiers to do this, to do that. It's going to be a big disappointment if what Onanuga reported is true. Why we are using what he reported to be true? Because we have not been able to find it on the other side. We have not been able to find it on the other side. That's the US counterpart. Yes. And when he was making such delivery, we didn't see any reaction coming from the US so far. I think it was something he did say when he appeared on one of the private television when he was being interviewed upon. So he has not even issued, I don't know if he has issued any press release on that, but
yeah, he did.
Okay, but it means it's gonna be a big disappointment for many Nigerians who had wanted some forceful acts as against diplomatic cooperation.
But do you think Nigeria needs US to be able to handle insecurity we have now ravaging the country?
We need them. Nigeria needs the United States of America.
Okay, in what form?
In many forms. In intelligence, processing, gathering, use, intelligence use. Both is processing, both is gathering, both is application, how, where, and when. That is just one. We also need their support in area of arms, in area of counter-terrorism, weapons. We also need their help. They have been helping in training our soldiers, there's no doubt. In educating and equipping them, there's no doubt. We have started this for long, as far back as 1993. So we need their support. We also need their combat forces.
Physical in Nigeria.
Physical in Nigeria, they have, but it will be under certain agreements, under certain conditions, because Nigeria would also accept it, not in a way of invading. I've always said that, because it will be a slap on our sovereignty. But they have been providing us with Tucano jets, and some of these jets have not been seeing how this helped in this fight we are actually undertaking. I remember during the time of Buhari, we are told that the Tucano jets have been acquired. At the point we are waiting for the Tucano jets to be used. We cannot fathom or see that here and say the Tucano jet so acquired during Buhari regime was successfully used to fight the insurgency, to decimate them. If they can come with their own version of Tucano jet, because I don't know the version we bought came here and became so languorous that they cannot even do anything, but they can come with their own Tucano jet, and Nigeria will give them the support system. See, we need sincerity of purpose. With their coming, it would help Nigerians to fizzle out any thought or bias or doubt about political interference and some of the things we have mentioned yesterday. So I know very well that many Nigerians want to leave. There's no doubt. Many of them want to leave. And for many Nigerians, they want the killings to stop. They want a country where they can live, work, and have fun. That is what life is all about. Worship freely. That's what life is all about. They can have access to the farms, and they can at the same time live freely, operate freely, coexist freely, without any harassment, intimidation, or genocide, or homicide, whatever side you can call of. See,
so how do we put this together? Because yesterday the vice president was in Angola during the AU-EU meeting, where he kicked against use of mercenaries in fighting terrorism or insurgency in Africa. He said Africa must learn how to use their own to fight insurgency and terrorism.
The thing is, we can leverage. We can see US as a leverage point to stamp out insurgency. Yesterday, I did extensive analysis on some of these things, and I told you how Sri Lanka stamped out terrorism in 2009. Sri Lanka. And at the same time, I told you how some other countries were able to defeat terrorism. There are countries that are battling terrorism. Why they are still battling terrorism, I did emphasize yesterday, was because what operates in Nigeria, what is happening in Nigeria, is also happening in some of these countries. So it is, a very big, embarrassing and shameful thing, having schools closed, being under lock because of these terrorists we cannot fight. And I did say yesterday, they are growing in numbers on daily basis. They have become a monster that it will take extraordinary measures to root out, and US support is part of the extraordinary measure. These monsters have become extraordinary in their operations. They have grown wings, they have changed tactics, they have changed methods, they have changed everything. They have acquired more weapons, and in area of their financing, US will also play a big role, because sometimes some of this financing, they make use of US dollars to get these things tracking. Because we know definitely that we have accomplices in Nigeria. They're everywhere. They have infiltrated a number of institutions. One may not be wrong if he says that even the CBN could also be infiltrated by these people. One may not be entirely wrong. So the NFIU, the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, which is meant to trace every flow, every form of financial flow, what have they been doing? And we have seen the border, patrol and all that. Some people have said if US wants to have their military base in Nigeria, let them come and build it, but we will be under certain conditions, terms and agreements. So that is where we are.
Okay, so if for us to deepen this very cooperation, because I'm wondering how he's going to also address the issue of the internal sabotage, the conspiracies, the compromises, the connivances, because anybody who is active on social media might have run into a video which circulated yesterday, where a certain speaker for Bandit was saying that he was saying certain things in Hausa language. And if you check the comment, you see different interpretations. But for me, I decided not to go by that interpretation. So I had to reach out to my Hausa friend to interpret what was said in that very video. The only caveat I'm going to add is that personally I have not been able to verify that video to know the very first time it came up on the internet. But if we're going to look at the interpretation of what the Bandit speaker said in that very video, based on what my friend and answer person gave me, I'm going to read that what he wrote. He said, he meant government is the one supporting them on terrorism act. It supports them with weapons as they don't know it. Only them now, the only thing they know how to do is how to rear cows. He swore with Almighty Allah, government is supporting them on terrorism. If government doesn't want this act of terrorism, it can handle it within a short period of time. This is what my husband friend sent to me.
If you look at that video yesterday, many of us could not understand the language, but just like you said, your friend who understands the language has been able to interpret the language to you. And from what the man was saying, because I heard him say many times, Wallahi talai, Wallahi talai. But I know Wallahi talai means in the name of God, or that kind of thing. But you've been able to put to rest some of the issues we are having, trying to understand what he was actually saying, that government is supporting terrorism. But if he says government is supporting terrorism, it will be a kind of overstatement. But he may say there are people in government that are supporting terrorism, not necessarily government. I don't think government will support terrorism, but there are people in government. There are people in these institutions of government that support them, not that the government on its own is supporting them. In our local parlance here, if anybody from government does anything, it will be seen that it's government that is doing it. But people may not be able to read the lines between somebody who works for government and the government itself. Because at times somebody who works for government may have a different interest from the interest of government. So I think he may have overstated the fact by saying that government supports terrorism. But I think in the real sense, there are those in government who supports terrorism, not government supporting terrorism.
Okay, so we're going to leave it at that. Talking about that reported agreement between US and Nigeria for them to cooperate when it comes to the issue of handling the terrorism we are facing in the country. Now, let's look at how governors have been reacting. I understand that northern governors are going to have meeting on Saturday for them to have a synergistic and collaborative approach towards addressing the issue of terrorism and the insecurity we're having now. But yesterday, Southwest governors took the bull by the horn by being the first to have such a meeting, and at the end of the day, they came out with a lot of resolutions on their communique. And one of the things they made yesterday was calling on the federal government to expedite action on creation of state police. They said this is the way to go. And also they talked about having a joint security fund. It's going to be a pool where the 6 states in the Southwest will be able to draw from and work harmoniously towards addressing the issue of insecurity. They talked about, deployment of a forest guard. The forest needs to be guarded so that nobody will be able to find a way to stay in the forest. From there, they begin to foment troubles and plenty things they decided at that very meeting. So how do you react to this move by the Southwest governor?
I will say they have been doing so much to ensure that their territories are not taken over by these killer herdsmen. But we've seen before now how speedily they formed Amotekun. And because we could not do the same thing here, that was how IPOB had its own ESN wing, because the government couldn't do something when these killer headers were ravaging some spaces or places and communities, killing everybody seen along the route. The Southwest reacted quickly by forming Amotekun. If they had not done that, one knows that somebody like Sunday Igboho could have come with his own version. Remember, there is where we have a Southwest Security Network, which was converted into Amotekun. And being that they reacted quickly, they were able to ensure that non-state actors did not hijack the Southwest Security Network, because it was about to be hijacked by non-state actors. But they reacted quickly and took control. And by taking control, they were in control. I remember the late governor of Ondo State, who was at the helm, who was the Southwest Governors Forum chairman at that time,
Rotimi
Akeredolu.
Of blessed memory.
He did so much to make sure that the Southwest Security Network was properly utilized, converted to Amotekun. And it was on that ground that Amotekun came into existence. And we've seen how they have been able to cope. Yes, there has been good news and little bad news about their work. They were able to populate their forest and ensure that they blocked these killer headers from encouraging on their spaces. But that's just that. Now they are looking way beyond what they have already, because the whole dynamics is quick evolving. Now they are thinking of, yes, state police, they have all agreed, and they asked Mr. President, expedite action. Yesterday I said Mr. President should, as a matter of fact, do it within 1 week. I have seen anti-kidnapping laws of Anambra State made in 1 day. It was made in 1 day. That to tell you how it was badly needed. Under emergency situations, laws could be made within a day, and so many processes will be waved down to see to the coming of the law. So I'm telling Mr. President, we can do that. And if you look at Southwest, they say expedite action on state police, and if they will not stop at that, because on their own they are going to have forest guard. Why the police will be in communities, in spaces known to people where people dwell to do the policing work, the forest guard will be in the bushes, especially the routes through which these people come to unleash havoc, unleash mayhem, unleash chaos. So they are thinking further. Then for the northern governors, they have been ineffective. Their meetings have yielded nothing. And many of them, they have been busy empowering the insurgents. And if you look at the young man in Hausa that was actually saying government funds them, and that is exactly what he meant. When you give us money, when you give us arms, and every other thing, he may, when he was talking about government, he did not tell us the government in question, whether it's central government or the state government. He did not say the kind of government he was talking about. He just said government. But at the subnational level, it could also be assumed that some government sponsors, some governments sponsor these people. When you negotiate and gives out 1 billion, are you not sponsoring them? What is it for? And in some of these negotiations, we have not seen where it is agreed upon that they will lay there their weapons. We are government. I think there was a time we are told that in every cow you have one. Okay, sorry. If you drop one AK-47, you'll be given a cow. I think it was in Zamfara State at a point, Metawale, but it was the same Metawale that Governor of Zamfara State presently, Udala, has accused of sponsoring terrorism. Past government, and he said he has access to classified informations. He has access to classified information of the government, and then he was able to tender that to Mr. President and tender that to different security agencies. I'm talking about the governor of Zamfara State, where he said that the current Minister of State for Defense that he is a complicit. Have we done anything about it? And when these people say they were sponsored or they are being sponsored by government, could it be in conformity with what the present governor of Zamfara State has said about the former governor of the state, who is now the Minister of State for Defense? Can we open up? Can we investigate? Can we find out the truth? I thought that this Mr. President could have done would have been to look at the evidence the governor has and see if there could be prima facie once his established investigation comes into force immediately. That is when you try to fight insurgency without political interference. So that is, by the way, I have seen the northern enclaves, the northern governors, their meetings have been ineffective. The ones of the southwest, it has been effective to a great extent. So they have not helped the battle. They have not helped this fight. I'm talking about northern governors. They have not helped this fight. As far as we talk.
So for those in the southeast, how are they preparing? How are they getting ready? How are they becoming proactive in case now they are mama?
If you talk about southeast, I sense lack of unity amongst our governors. I can't remember the last time they had a meeting, the governors forum. I can't remember the last. Even when the one of the north seems to be ineffective, the one of the southwest seems to be effective to an extent. The one of southeast I've not seen. Last they had a meeting, there seems to be lack of unity. I remember when these things were ravaging, their ineffectiveness, their non-promptness led to the Eastern Security Network, which Nnamdi Kanu championed. And before you know it, it's I don't know, it's actually snowballed into something. It's snowballed into something. And I remember when these things were ravaging, I was calling, shouting, the governors should act on. They shouldn't wait for Buhari. They were all waiting for Buhari. The southwestern governors never waited for Buhari. The southeastern governors were waiting for Buhari. As at that time, as at 2020 or thereabouts, 2019, 2020, the southeastern governors were waiting for, and many of them were playing lip service. Even Dave Umahi, who was the forum chairman, ineffective. And when the damage has been done, they came back to form Agone Chamber, Ebubago, and which many states did not even adopt. And some of the things that they said at their meeting became dead on arrival because he actualized some of them in his own state, but no state was able to replicate that. So we have always sensed this lack of unity amongst the southeastern governors, as against what we have in southwest. Most times they try to play regional politics, removing personal interests, removing parochial interests, but the interest of the region becomes the supreme thing. But in the southeast, we have not seen the interest of the region forming the major thing, and where everybody aligns with regional interests against personal political interests. We've not seen that.
Okay. Let's just quickly run through some of the resolution, just quickly before we now move to the next one. Because if you look at their communique, one is that they said that they were applauding the president for what he did. You know, how he's been able to handle the issues in Kebbi State, Kwara, and Niger State. Then they talked about the Southwest Regional Security Fund. Look at what they said. They said they agreed to set up a Southwest Security Fund under Dawn Commission to be administered by Forum of Special Advisors on Security of all Southwest states and to meet monthly. They also agreed on joint security intelligence sharing and communication platform. The forum resolves to establish a live digital intelligence sharing platform among all 6 Southwest states. The platform will exchange threat notifications, incident logs, traveler and cargo alerts, and coordinate state-to-state rapid response. It also talked about forest surveillance. The forums commends the effort of the NSCDC, hunters, and core members, and all the other security agencies. The forum calls on federal governments to note the urgent need for enhanced forest surveillance across the Southwest states, and called on federal government to secure the vast forest belt that have become hideout for criminal elements. They also agree that the federal government should help deploy forest guard across the Southwest states, with each state government responsible for providing the required personnel, and plenty of other things that they talked about. So we're going to leave this. Then another area, let me just mention before we leave this one, is they agreed on interstate migration thing. They said the forum expresses deep concern on the unregulated interstate migration that continues to pose significant challenges across the Southwest. Now let's move to the next issue, which is Atiku officially joining the ADC. He went to Jadawan ward in Adamawa State, where he registered to become officially a member of the ADC. And when he was done, he said officially a member of the ADC, and he said that was the beginning of opposition for 2027. But the likes of Adam Shomole have dismissed him, saying that he's a light feathered politician, that it's inconsequential whether he joins ADC or any other thing. It's inconsequential because he has never won any election in Nigeria, despite the fact that he has moved from different parties since 1999. He came into the national scene.
I think Chumole, for whatever reason he has against Atiku, he has not been speaking good about him. So I'm not going to base my assessment on whatever he said. He's in APC, Atiku is in ADC as we speak now. The good thing is that what separates them is P and C. That's what separates the two. APC, ADC. So one is All Progressives Congress, right? One is African Democratic Congress. So what the D there signifies democratic. The P there in their own APC signifies progressives. So that is the acronyms. Article saying that the opposition has begun now. I think he sees everything about opposition from his own personal lens or prism or angle or dimension. Opposition, for all we care, Nigerians seem not to have even a good opposition as we speak. And many of them are jittery, shouting one party state. As opposition, what have you been doing? And we saw ADC coming into effect, and we are told that they will use some subnational elections to make a statement, even if they don't win, but make a statement. Let it be a statement, but we didn't see that. And Atiku joining ADC at this point, why did it wait so long to join ADC? Why did he wait so long? Or
4 months after he left the PDP.
Why did he wait so long to join ADC officially? Because probably he would not want to invest his money in subnational elections that had happened. And he could explain to those his supporters why he waited this long. And his statement that opposition has started now is a fake one, it's a false one. It's not by mere statement or meritorious. I know the plan. Look at the plan. P2B will, before now, just count it in a question of a month or 2 months, P2B will officially join. You know, they have been in that coalition. Look at the plan. If you don't know, I'm going to tell you frankly. The plan is Atiku will be the candidate, P2B will be the running mate. That's just the plan. And it has been agreed upon somewhere. And now he has formalized his entry into ADC. P2B will at the same time do the same. If you go to P2B page as we speak now, Atiku is having his birthday today. Today is Atiku's birthday. Look at all the encomiums P2B poured on Atiku. He described Atiku with adjectives I believe he cannot even describe his father. Yes, he called him his boss. He's there. He called Atiku his boss. One would say yes, he's his boss because both of them were, they had a joint ticket. They were both the candidate and the running mate. So if I have not seen anybody who was once a running mate to a candidate that never succeeded referring the person as his boss, is a sign of what is to happen. He called Atiku his boss. He called Atiku my elder brother. He called Atiku with all manner of good names. That's if you go to P2B's Facebook page and then Instagram page and even X. That's what is. So it is something that has been cooked. And they had this claim before now, and they are still claiming that they can defeat President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2027 without having a sitting state governor. P2B in 2023, we saw the stride he made for Labour without any sitting governor, and through that they had one. But this time around, they are saying that they can do the unthinkable even without a sitting governor. So the plan is Atiku, who formalized his entry into ADC, he did that when that commitment must have been extracted from P2B to be his running mate. So now P2B will do his own any moment from now.
So if eventually your theory gets to work out the way you had just said it, that P2B is going to be running mate, because Obi has consistently maintained that he's going to be on the ballot 2027.
Yes.
So if he eventually accedes to become a running mate to Atiku, would we say that he's a man of his words, or he has disappointed the people who have been banking on him to be on the ballot? And also knowing that if he becomes a running mate to Atiku, he will not be able to pull the weight as a candidate.
The thing is, he will explain why he makes whatever choice he makes at any time. We have seen him making statements before now. Remember when he said he's not going to leave Abga? He swore that he will never leave Abga. He was when Ojukwu put his hand and said, "This is my last wish," and then his statement that he will never leave Abga. But he later left Abga and explained why he left Abga. But remember the statement, he said he will never. He did not attach condition to it. When you make an emphatic statement without attaching condition to it, and with us, I'm just trying to give you one of those statements he had made in the past. That is one. And now he has said he's going to be on the ballot. There are forces that will make you not to be on the ballot. You will explain. Because if you look at it now, from the look of things, there is such agreement. But I won't let more about the agreement. And that was why Atiku waited for a long time. And just like I told you earlier on, Obi would also join force with Atiku in ADC. They will just be there together. But whether it will be a kind of disappointment to many Nigerians and the obedient movement, I don't know. There are those who are following him for whatever reason. And it was agreed that Atiku will hand over the economy for him as a vice president. I'm just trying to. I said I will not say more. I won't say more. So it was agreed that Atiku, everything about the economy of this country as a vice president will be under his jurisdiction. And that is one of the conditions to that. But he will be very loyal. 100% loyal to Atiku Abubakar. The whole thing is cooking. I won't say more. I will stop here. But the point remains that he would also apply for the ticket, because during the primary, he will go for primary, but he will be defeated in the primary. He will now support Atiku. That is the corner point. He will go for primaries during the ADC presidential primary. He will be on the ballot as one of the candidates angling for presidency. But as we know, Atiku will defeat him in the primaries. Once Atiku defeats him in the primaries, then Atiku will now choose him as the running mate, and there will be a joint ticket.
All right, so we'll go for this very commercial break. Once we are done with the break, it's going to be for us to go straight to the phone lines to take your reactions. Stay with us.
104.7 Udala Radio.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, our party turn the to when this bread. Mama, papa, they like when this bread. Kitchen and do when this bread. Even children they like when this bread. When this bread. I'm in town. When this bread. Get it better, tasty. We go sweet your belly. When this bread. When this your party choma. When this bread.
When this bread, tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, Second Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza at Tani Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
Biko genti n'ọkwa dị oke mkpa iji ohere eme ka ọhaneze mata karịsịa ndị na-achọ ịzụ ụlọ ahịa na ndị na-azụ ahịa n'ahịa New Auto Spare Parts Mkpọ New Parts dị n'okpuru ọchịchị Idemili North. Mbọ ụfọdụ ndị na-agba ịghọgbu ndị mmadụ ịzụrụ ụlọ ahịa n'ụzọ iwu na-akwadoghị n'elu ụlọ ahịa alụrụ ọhụrụ n'ime ahịa ahụ. A na-adụ ọhaneze ọdụ ka ha zere onye ọbụla itinye ha n'ọnwụnwa site n'iresi ha elu ụlọ ahịa ahụ dịka ụlọ ikpe mkpegharị na-etinye ọnụ n'okwu ahụ. Emekwara ka amara na ọ bụ ndị nwe anụ ụlọ ahịa ahụ nwekwa elu ya. Ọzọkwa onye isi oche Idemili North enyekwa onye ọbụla nkwado ike ụlọ ahịa ọbụla n'elu ụlọ ahịa ahụ dị na New Parts. Ya mere kpachapụ anya maka ego gị dana na mmiri. Asịkwana na agwaghị gị agwa maka na ụkpana okpoko gburu bụ ntị chiri ya. Ndị binyere aka n'ọkwa bụ ndị landlord stroke shop allottees na BOT chairman New Auto Spare Parts Mkpọ bụ Chief Paulson Emera.
When the city sleeps, the river remembers. When the drums call, Onitsha awakens. This December, the call grows louder as Udala Radio joins forces with the Golibe Festival 2025. From December 2016 New Year's Day, the heartbeat of the East comes alive. Music, laughter, art, culture, and the unstoppable joy of homecoming. This year promises more energy, more color, more connection. A festival for every proud son and daughter of Igbo land. Stay tuned to Udala Radio, your front row seat to the celebration that never fades. Golibe Festival 2025. Exclusive media support by Udala Radio. It's not just a festival, it's who we are. Hello, my brother.
Hello, bro, how far now?
They waiting this up now.
Now my tenants, they won't finish me. They don't pay rent. Wahala every day. Papa, the way you get supposed to give me joy. You don't do wahala.
Yeah, my brother, you need to upgrade to A sharply.
Guy, another agent I beg, I don't want. Agent that they are wahala on 5 and 6.
Sure, you never try Asoja sets now. The best from in property management. See, since I carry my houses, give them. Nah, so I they enjoy peace of mind like this. Them they handle rent collection, tenant screening, maintenance, everything. I just they relax, they watch my investment, they grow like this.
You know me now? You mean I pay avoid all these shifting with tenants?
Now, correct. Asoja sets go manage all your property worries. Them they professional, transparent, and reliable.
My friend, will you get out? Now see finish the cost of this nonsense. No worry. Aswage Asset they come. Una go soon hear out.
Why stress when Aswage Assets will run am for you? For property management, tenant services, and real estate solutions, call Aswage Assets today on 0904-0422-240 or 0906-8205-058 or visit our office at number 8 Niger Drive, GRA Onitsha, Anambra State. Forget your from house agents and trust the experts at Aswage Assets for your peace of mind. Aswage Assets, managing property, multiplying value.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Of course, you are listening to the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. It's now 10:34 a.m. and it's time for us to open the phone lines to bring you on board on today's conversation. My name is Franklin and I'm with Olisa Mbeki, and we have looked at 4 things ranging from developments in the area of insecurity, where it was reported that Nigeria and US have had an agreement to cooperate on dealing with the issue of insecurity. We talked about UK rejection of the request by federal government for transfer of former Senate President Ike Kweramade for him to serve the remainder of his jail term in Nigeria. We also talked about other developments in the party, talking about Atiku joining the ADC officially and other things. So let's get to hear from you. 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. Good morning.
Good morning, Franklin.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
Good morning, my Speaker Olisa Mbeki. Like Chisom is not available today. Honorable Gidenze, Mayor Okutukume, Okulolo, Ochen, I would have known. Can I go on?
Yes, go on.
Olisa Mbeki, I am a bit confused. You will go. Your analysis is very fine, but I want to ask you a question because of the conclusion I felt. Which is better, to use American government, even they are coming to attack, than being a shame for our sovereignty? Which one of them is better? Is it better for America to come, do what they know how to do best, so that we have peace and so that the insurgency stops? Or is it better that America did not come? Then the people will be killing on daily basis the way it is being done today. I want you to answer me that because I'm confused on that area analysis. Then Nigeria has done what they know how to do well. If it is true what Barry Ononuga was saying, that they are planning to manage the situation with American people, I will tell you that if that is true, they have done what they know how to do best. To leave Malone and softly get you and involve you in corruption or in what they don't want you to do. But I know that must not be true, because I know America. They are very intelligent. They can't. That cannot be true. Yes, printing that cannot be true.
All right.
Yes. Then
thank you.
I want to also say it categorically clear that Nigeria government is not fighting this war the way it will go. Like Olisa Mbeki says, he answered their question practically by saying that we need them in all angles, in all ramifications. Yes, we need them in every area. Because I know if they come now, they will use drones. We have 2 drones, 5 drones that they will fly. I know where these people are.
All right.
You people are saying collateral damage. America
Thank
don't
you.
do such things.
Thank you. Thank you for calling. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
Badmos.
Mr. Badmos, go on.
Good. I'm very happy that Atiku have joined ADC.
Are you still there? Okay, Badmos, I think you have to try to call back because that line dropped. Good morning.
Good morning, Franklin.
Yes, your name?
You're welcome on a Basil.
Go on, Mr. Basil.
Let me speak on the issue of security. I keep on speaking this. The federal government is not ready to fight this security. I've been saying it. Why am I saying it? Think about Gumi. Gumi is there, causing a lot of havoc, telling Nigeria that the best thing is to negotiate with them, that we don't have to allow America to come in, that if we allow America to come in, it will escalate the problem. And some people, the bandits itself are coming out to tell us that the insecurity is caused by the government. And when we see somebody like Gumi, so what are we questioning? Whether it's coming from the government or not? It's not coming from them, we know. Because if they want to fight this insecurity, it doesn't mean anything for them to fight. Now they are pursuing America not to come. Why are they pursuing America not to come? Because if they come, they will expose a lot of things in Nigeria. And they will never allow America to come. They can spend whatever they have to make sure that America does not come here. And I'm disappointed in America's ethics now, because this is not the way we think that it will happen. Because Nigeria is in a very big mess. And when we see who is our savior now, we don't have any savior again. On the issue of Atiku entering ADC, I think that is the best